All right, everybody. Thank you so much for coming back for another episode of the Feeling and Healing podcast. Danielle Z here, MFT in the making, motivator and mental health maven. And today I am so happy to welcome Megan Bunnell. She is a life coach and she works with high achieving women to just, manage the hustle because she's a woman managing the hustle herself. So welcome, Megan. Thanks for joining me.
Oh, well, thank you for having me. I'm very excited to be here.
Yeah, so would love to just tap into because I know we work with kind of like a similar client base. So what are kind of like when you're, meeting somebody for the first time, what are some things that, I guess maybe just some initial things that you work with them on to kind of get them out of what I like to call like their survival mode?
Oh my goodness, get out of survival mode. Yes. So the very first thing that I like to have them do is just tell me their story
Mm-hmm.
without stopping, without correcting, without anything. Just tell me your story because that tells me a lot about what their inner voice is processing about what has happened, is happening, what's going to or not going to happen. And then after that, again, without comment, sometimes I ask questions, clarification, but then I go into something that I call the 10 out of 10 life audit. And so they go
Mm.
into all of the aspects of their life one at a time. And I ask them to rate it. I mean, it's a little bit more complicated. I'm with them for like 2 hours for that first session, but
Yeah,
I
yeah,
go
yeah.
into that and I'm like, what out of 10, how would you rate your relationships? How would you rate your romance? How would you rate your finances? Right. And there's a whole bunch of them that we go through. And I ask them why. So why did you give that a 3? Why did you give that a 7?
Mm-hmm.
Why did just really getting to know mentally where they are, emotionally where they are, and physically where they are with their habits, their choices, where they think they should be, all of those things, and just get the whole story so that I can see that whole woman so that we can figure out where those roadblocks, usually self-imposed, right? Roadblocks are,
Yes.
so that we
We
know
are
what
our
we're
own
working
worst
on.
enemy.
Yes, because sometimes, and I'm sure you get this too, women come to me with a specific problem they want to solve, but
Mm-hmm.
then I get to know the whole story and I'm like, oh, girl, you have 2 or 3 things that are leading to that roadblock that if you don't get rid of those, it's not going to change a thing. And so that allows me to really see what roadblocks they might not be aware of so that we can all be on the same page, very aware, and then make a decision of where they want to go from there.
No, I love that you brought up, and I was just having a very similar conversation with another podcast guest about this. I love that you just said like awareness because I feel like that is the first step in whatever journey you're on. And I know we're coaches, so we're thinking about moving forward, but if you're not aware, like, of a problem or an issue or even
Mm-hmm.
a positive thing, a strength, like you can't work with it.
Nope.
So
Yeah.
I think and also too I want to like iterate to people like that awareness is something like it's learned, like we're not taught self-awareness in school.
Nope.
You know what I mean? Like your kids aren't taught, like, the teachers aren't being like, all right, guys, so like this is your body. And like, guess what? You have this thing called a brain. And sometimes it doesn't always connect well with your body. And your body tells you something different. And you don't know. And also you have this inner voice. And it's like sometimes it's not what the external is telling you. So it's like, and I love also too how you mentioned, obviously like mind, body, spirit, like that can
All
like
of it.
it's a relationship. And I
Yeah.
think we live in a society, which I'm sure, and and if you want to, I feel bad at bringing this up, but medically, like we live in a very like I think the medical model has been the like go-to for like mental health healing, and I'm like, it's not this. You can't diagnose, treat, heal, like, and work with somebody in that way to
Yeah.
to do your
It's
inner
just not
work.
the No, it's just not the whole picture.
Yeah,
And I think just like we get prescriptions for pain or for depression or for hormone imbalance or whatever it is we get prescriptions for, we need the same thing for our inner self. We need a prescription for
I
here is the
love that.
problem, here's the root of it. How am I going to fix that? And it takes work. So just like you're going to go to physical therapy. What she was referring to, by the way, is I just broke my ankle.
Yes, I apologize. I
And
didn't. I didn't want to.
I was,
I was like, hold it in restraint, Danielle. I don't
yeah,
want to like blast
no,
your.
But that's a great example, to get it back to once it's healed, to get it back to where it needs to be, I'll have to do physical therapy. But what we were talking about before the show, she asked how it was doing. And I said, well, don't tell anyone, but they told me to rest and I haven't been resting and it hasn't gotten better. And
Mm,
so my
see what happened?
body is pushing through, right? I'm doing fine. I'm surviving just fine, right? But I'm not. My mind is telling me, you need to sit down. You need to elevate. You need to ice. You need someone to give that kid a ride. You need all those things.
Mhm.
And yet my body is fine. I'm pushing through. It's working. It's going. And I know that's not true because it's still sore at the end of every night, 3 weeks later, and it shouldn't be that way. And so yeah, it is a whole picture. And I know that that's true for so many women that we work with, because if you look at their lives from the outside, it looks amazing,
Yep.
right? Their life is perfect on paper. And you look at that woman and you think, man, she's got it all. What a great life. I want to be that. And that same woman is my client who on the inside is drowning and has this perfect life and hates it. So it really is this holistic view of all of those pieces have to be in alignment for you to find the joy in the life that you built. And not much has to change, to be honest. It's micro changes that make
Yes.
macro shifts so
I
that you
love,
can
oh
love
my
that
gosh.
life.
I love that you just said that because, first of all, you're right. And it's so funny. I actually literally just posted on Instagram today that survival mode feels like success. It looks like success. And especially in the society we live in and capitalism and free market America. I mean, I'm being a little cold. I'm just addressing the culture that we live in,
Mm-hmm.
like the hustle culture, the having it
Yes.
all, have but it's a performance, as you said. It's
Yes.
emotionally exhausting.
100%. And that doesn't change until you change. And
Yeah.
so my like tagline that I work with my women on is, my goal for you is to hustle less and
Hmm.
sparkle more, and not
Love that.
change a thing about your
Yeah.
success, not change a thing about the way that your life appears. None of that is changing. It's how you go about that result that changes everything for you. And the crazy thing is, when you change you, and then you bring out the power and the
Hmm.
wonderful sparkle that you have naturally, it ripples out to everybody around you. So sometimes it seems
Absolutely.
selfish, right? Like, well, I'm going to work on me, and that's taking time and that's taking energy, and it's just me. What about my kids? What about my work? What about them? Because all of that is going to ripple in such a positive way through every piece of your puzzle. But it starts with you.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. And I mean, I could go deep with you because I've so funny. This topic that I'm gonna about to bring up has come up on. I've recorded 4 episodes of my podcast this week. It has come up on every single one, and I'm just gonna
I
bring it
love
up
it.
here because I'm like the theme is there. But you mentioned the term ripple, and I think that I go as deep to realize that your state, how you feel about yourself, the relationship with yourself impacts you, also impacts your relationships,
Yes.
has the impact and effect to travel generationally. So it's, you know
Oh,
what I mean? Like,
yes.
like as you said, it starts with you. Like that's why like I was talking to a woman the other earlier this week. She grew up with a alcoholic mother, had suffered from anorexia, like she had some generational trauma. She told herself, like, I mean, she struggled with her mental health and but on her journey thankfully found healing. But it is, I think we think about it as, like as you said, it's micro things with macro
Mhm.
results. But the impact of those macro results, like if
Yes.
you don't take care of those little things, it could, and I don't want to be a nihilist or whatever, but the impact of not doing the little things could turn into like a big thing pretty quickly.
100%. 100%. And really, the truth is you're having an impact either way,
Yes.
right? You in your existence, the way you show up, the way that you function, the choices you make, you are impacting those around you regardless of what you do. You are leading them regardless of what you do. And
Hmm.
so, do you want that impact and that leadership to be done with intention, so that the people
Hmm.
around you have a positive ripple effect and you lead your teams in a healthy and positive way, you lead your family in a healthy and positive way, your friendships? Or do you want that ripple to be something that is ripping apart relationships, ripping apart happiness and joy? And you get to choose that
Yes.
because you are going to have an impact either way. Do you want your children to live the life that you're living and feel the way that you're feeling? Because if you don't, then change the way that you're living and change the way that you're feeling. It starts inside and they'll follow
Exactly.
that. Yeah, impact is
Exactly.
huge.
Oh yeah, and I always say too, like I know I said like I want to maybe flip the script on this when I'm a licensed therapist, which I'm 4 or 5 years away from that. I'm like, just don't think about it, Danielle, but we'll get there. Um, like I think we focus a lot on generational trauma, and even as a student, I learn a lot about that. But what we don't focus on is what you just said, the change, and then the let's focus on the family and generational healing. Because
Yes.
as you said, it goes both ways. Like, unfortunately, we see a lot of the negative, which I know that's our brains are wired to see that, but
Hmm.
there is such a beautiful thing, as you said, if you do the inner work. And I know you know too, with your clients, with my clients too, like it's work, it's an
It
investment.
is work.
You are, and
It
I
is
say
work.
this to my clients, like I have 3 questions I ask them. I don't know if I want to share them here, but they're on my website, but I'll share them. Why not? So I ask them in the beginning when we worked with together and at the end of like whatever program they choose. Normally it's like my 6 month or year program, but the first thing I ask them, I go, what is your most valuable asset? What is your most lucrative investment? And what is the most important relationship you have in your life? So I know
That's
what my
very
answers to
telling.
that are. I don't know what you, and I get a lot of mixed things like assets. They're like their home, their investment portfolios, and I'm like, think again. Relationships, of course, spouses and significant others, girlfriends, friends, and I'm like, nope. And then they're like, my most lucrative, excuse me, my most lucrative investment. I don't know, like similar houses, investments, and I'm like, look in the mirror. It's you.
It has to be.
It like, and I think, and I would love your perspective on this because I'm finding in my life when I've invested in myself, I see the return. And I feel like we live in a very externalized world where we're
Yes.
always trying to find, and somebody just said this I was doing a podcast with them yesterday, like almost like our purpose. Like we're trying to find it on the external, and it's like, no, look in.
Yes. And then your purpose will be shown. So
Exactly.
the thing is, I feel like in our current culture, we are so lucky that we have the technological advances that we do.
Yes,
And it makes the
absolutely.
world so small and it makes everything so much easier and yet so complex, right? All at the same time. But
Yep.
what comes along with that is instant gratification. And that trains our
Mhm.
brain to expect constant small dopamine hits.
Yes.
And that makes it seem like we have joy, excitement, and it feels real, right? It's like having a candy bar. Like it
Hmm.
feels good to your brain, and
Hmm.
your brain is
Yeah.
like, we
Yeah.
should have more of that. But the problem is they're not sustainable and they're really just skin deep. Right. And
Yeah.
so, if we don't train ourselves to dive deep, and you said it, that our brains are automatically wired, and really they're not automatically wired to do this, but we always go to the negative.
Yep.
And we're conditioned from the
Yes.
day we're born
100%.
to be that way. And so, parents, you messed up. Sorry. We're messing up, right? I'm messing up right now as parents. That's we're conditioning and shaping our child in the way we know is best at the moment, right? But
Yeah.
everybody is different. And until you go in and truly do an upgrade on your brain, it will
Hmm.
automatically be requesting, be focusing on, find importance in the things that it was trained to
Yeah.
think was important to focus on, right? And you need to rewire that. So, with intention, it is
Yeah.
spitting out those thoughts and those feelings that are true to who you are, what you want, what's important in your life. And we're just not trained to do that. And it takes that
No.
inner work. It takes constant, not a lot,
No,
just
no, you said
constant
micro, like small steps.
micro. Yeah, and
Small steps.
it's a big investment, because of you giving yourself permission to do that.
Hmm.
But other than that, it is micro changes, and it's building up faith in yourself and a
Hmm.
foundation that's unshakable, so that the world isn't happening to you, it's happening
Happening
with you and
for
for
you, with
you.
you, exactly.
Yes, and it's a whole different perspective in how you can manage, deal with, become resilient through the hard times. And on the positive side, how much you truly can enjoy with
Your life,
true
exactly. Live your
love.
life. Yes.
Yes, and
Live your
really
life.
enjoying it. Yeah, and it's incredibly important to do that work so that you can upgrade to Danielle 2.0,
Yep.
and then hopefully 3.0 and
Yep.
4.0,
Exactly. Exactly.
so that you can enjoy the life that you have.
Yeah, no, and I love, so it's, you brought up dopamine, because I actually read a really good book. It's called The Molecule of More, about dopamine, because as a, mental health, it's funny because it, as a potential mental health professional and family therapist, coach now, but don't want to do both. Uh, we don't learn a lot about the brain in
No.
school. We learn a lot about theory and all about, real world stuff and like very outdated things. But I'm like, for somebody that, like, I'm going to school to like learn about like the minds, like it's very cerebral. I'm like, we learn nothing about the brain. So I'm actually very interested in the brain. But the funny thing about, you said about dopamine, and what I'm going to mention is that dopamine is a chemical. It doesn't know morals, values, anything. It just
Nope.
knows more. It just
Yep.
wants more, more,
Yep.
more. It doesn't, it'll blast through your morals. It'll forget any value you have, just to get more. And
Yes.
I think, and I would love your perspective here too, because we were told, like, you said before, like, we live in a society that is big, but it's also small because of the
Mhm.
connection. And I feel like people are craving like a deep, deep connection, but they're not finding it in the external because of the way where our system is set up. And what the answer really is, as we keep going back to, is inside of us already.
Yeah, and it's really being intentional about how you're using this technology that we have as well. If you really take a survey of your life and how many deep, meaningful relationships you have, and you put that side by side with your habits of connection, you're going to
Mm,
see that there is a direct correlation between your habits being superficial, scrolling, checking in,
mm,
hearting, and a lack of personal, really, truly deep, meaningful relationships. Versus if your time resource in the connection world is spent in those relationships, forming those relationships, being vulnerable, honest, asking, truly checking in, you'll
mm-hmm.
see that it's a direct relationship to having those deep connections as well. But the problem is back to that molecule of more, like you said, in that we feel like that need is met as we scroll and we see that family photo and we see that vacation and
Hmm.
the video of their kid doing gymnastics, and now we feel like we know that person. No, you know
Yes.
what
No,
that person posted.
yeah, the performance, I always
Yes.
say.
Yes,
As you
you
said, like the,
exactly.
the mask, or you know what I mean? Like, as you said, like, and I'm not saying, don't share your life. I'm very, I clearly, both of us
Yeah.
are entrepreneurs. We share our lives, but like, I try to, keep it pretty real with people. And
Mhm.
like, like, I'm not perfect. Like,
No.
I will always have work to do. I would say that I will, like, I've chosen my life, like, I've just chosen to always climb the mountain, but it doesn't mean that I can't just sit at a ledge on the mountain sometimes and be like,
Yes.
all right, Danielle, like, you came pretty far. Like, you could enjoy this view for a tad bit, you know?
Yes. Well, and that's what I love about the work that we do with our clients is I am not going to help you for the rest of your life, because
Yes.
if I
Yes.
am, I'm not doing my job. I
I
am going to
Yep.
teach you the tools that you need so that at any point in your life you can re-examine, you can pivot, you can put a
Hmm.
tool into place to help you with that circumstance, that change, that feeling, so that at any point you can ask yourself, this isn't really what I want. What can I do? I'm going to give you all of those, right? So
Yes.
that you are equipped to
Yes.
handle anything without being shaken. Does that mean it's easy? No. Does that mean you're
Mhm.
always going to be smiling and life is just going to be
No.
hunky dory and roses and rainbows and unicorns? No. But it does mean that you are going to be able to handle with grace, with
Yes.
honesty about your feelings, without being afraid to feel anything, without buffering anything that comes your way while attacking those goals that you want in a way that's in alignment with you. That's what it means. And that's where you can climb that mountain with joy. You can climb that mountain and enjoy the really difficult climb
Mm-hmm.
and then appreciate those ledges that you stop and take a view, right? That's what it's all about, is giving you the tools to do that. Because, like you said, they don't teach us that in school. They don't teach
No,
anything
they
about that.
don't teach any of this. And I love that you said too, like you're like feeling and because I just think we live in a world where we are taught because I have very big emotions. I know that about myself. I've learned it about myself. I accept it like and I have a very large emotional range. And I was told, like especially as a woman and also in school and I worked in corporate America, I was told like put your emotions at the door, Danielle, like be professional. You know what I mean? Like be buttoned up, but what that did for me and my nervous system and for just as you said being aligned with myself, I'm like this doesn't feel right. And what ended up happening, I was in an environment that literally put me in that situation. I kept on going until I literally couldn't anymore. I fell
Hmm.
into a very deep depressive episode, was not sleeping, was not eating, was having panic attacks, and I had to go on disability at one of my jobs I was in corporate America because that's what happens if you keep going. And as you said, don't do those little micro changes or do the inner work. Your body will tell you no at some
Yes. And
point.
if you don't feel and experience life through emotions, then you're hiding them because that's how the human
Mm.
body works. And
Yes, yes.
so I like to think of emotions like I'm laying in a pool on a float, right? Like just sitting and enjoying my mojito. I don't know, right?
Yes,
And I
whatever
think
your
of,
drink of choice.
yeah. And all of these beach balls are floating in the water. And some of them are pick a color of your choice, like pink and sparkly, right? And then some of them are this matte black. And
Mm-hmm.
think of emotions like you get so excited when that pink and sparkly one comes and you're like, yay, this is so fun. But you're kind of worried because that black one's getting closer and closer. And there it comes. And so you're holding it down. Well, now you're not really enjoying this pink sparkly one. You're focusing on holding that. Oh, and here comes another one. Right. And I'm going to hold that one down until you're off your float and you're holding all these black matte balls down. And what happens is eventually you can't and they erupt in a violent way instead of
Mm-hmm.
accepting them like every other emotion and giving them their time and then letting them go. And if you allow yourself to feel anything without fear, then you never have to be afraid of feeling anything. Right. And so you won't buffer,
Mm-hmm.
you won't avoid. You'll be able to handle any situation because you're able to handle any emotion. And life really is about how you feel. You
It
can live the
is. Oh,
same
that's all
mindset.
yeah. It's
Yeah,
all even like
it's
us
all
as like
feeling.
previously like me as like a marketer, like and even from being an entrepreneur, we both know from being an entrepreneur, people aren't buying the thing, right? Like they're
No.
not like they're buying the feeling that that
Yes.
thing gives them, whatever that thing is. Like it could be service, could be a physical thing, but you're not. But like yes, I mean outside of like think about like Maslow's hierarchy of needs, like outside of like food, water, you know what I mean, like basic human needs, like that you're buying the feeling, how it makes you
Yes.
feel,
Yes. And
and
that's what life is. And
yeah,
so, that's what we need to focus on is how can we control in a healthy way our emotional smorgasbord. I don't even know if that's how you say that, that we
no, it is,
have.
it is. You got it right.
I got nailed it. That emotional, big buffet that we have, how can we keep that in check? Not like we're avoiding them, not like we're putting them
Hmm.
under our skin, but truly choosing the emotions that we want to feel and really processing those that are harder emotions without fear of them. And that takes work because that has to do with what you're thinking. And that has to do with what you believe. And that's where it comes
Hmm.
back to how your brain is wired and subconsciously what's underneath there. And so with my clients, I tell them, I'm going to rewire your brain. And if
Yeah,
you're okay with that, your results are going to be astounding. But it's work because I don't know what's in there. We got to go
yeah,
find what's in there. We have to find why it's in there. We have to redecide what we're going to believe. And then we have to really reinforce those beliefs so that that's a new rut in your brain. That's your
exactly. It's a
automatic
new
pathway.
neural pathway that you're
Yes,
creating.
that's going to give you the thoughts that you want to have without effort. That's going to give you the emotions you want to have without effort. And that's going to give you the results that you want to have without effort, without constantly fighting against your own
Mm.
story that you're telling in your head.
Absolutely. And I always say too, I've said this, and I think I might just get a t-shirt made at this point. I'm going to coin it like for my own quote. I'll make a little quote thing for my Instagram, but emotions demand to be felt. Like
I'll
they're,
buy it. I'll buy your
you know,
t-shirt.
and you said it, I think, very well. Like, it's just like they're gonna come out in different ways. And and that's also too, I just know from studies that they've shown, things I've read, when you suppress an emotion, if it's a negative emotion, for too long, that's what turns into shame, like really deep shame, little T trauma, even big T trauma. Like, I mean,
Yes.
just I know there's a lot of talk, and I know this is a little off subject, but like
You're
we
good.
were just talking about, but I would love, I mean, I like to go there because, I'm just real. I feel like there's a lot of talk about like narcissism in today's world, and people don't realize like I see narcissism very differently than like I think the general public because of my background. But narcissism is a shame-based disease, and shame is a feeling.
Mhm.
Like that's how powerful like
Mhm.
I'm just to use a metaphor, you know what I mean? And I love your
Yes.
metaphor with the balls and being in the pool and you have to like, you have to move because you're right. It's like a whack-a-mole of,
Yeah.
like of emotions, but I just want to like reiterate to the audience like that's how powerful your feelings are. If you
Yes.
like that they can actually change you as a person, but also change you and heal you too.
Yes.
Like,
Yes.
I mean, that's once again, I did it again. I went to the negative first, but like your emotions have the power. That's why I always say, like, this is why this is called the Feeling and Healing podcast. You have to feel in order to heal.
You
Like,
do. You do. And I think there's a misnomer out there about, coaching in general or the posts that coaches put out there that, well, it's all about just instead of thinking the negative, thinking the positive. Oh, girl, if it were that easy,
oh,
right? Like,
exactly.
it's
Oh,
that
yeah.
easy.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
No, the deal is if you are not changing the way you believe, the story you're telling yourself, which takes a ton of work, you're going to constantly have to be putting forth that effort to find that silver lining, right? The point is that you want to get to the point where that's your automatic thought process.
Exactly.
That's your, and I
Exactly.
like to call that calm confidence, where you
Love that.
know who you are, you can handle anything. And whether it's because you have evidence of it from the past or whether you have evidence of yourself and that's what you believe in, just calm confidence. It doesn't matter what's coming. I've got this. And that
Yeah.
allows you to just feel and just exist and take
And
action where necessary and put up boundaries where that is what allows you to do that. And so that first work is getting that, right? Getting your unshakable foundation and then the little tools to help you with all
yeah.
the things that come your way.
And I think that unshakable foundation, at least for me, and I'm not sure with you, I'm sure you've heard this from your clients. For me, and I think it's different for everybody, like whatever that value is. But for me personally, that was my self-worth. I'm
Oh,
like,
100%.
I am worthy. And it took me, I mean, I went through my own journey, even and so I'm like, right now, I'm on the version of Danielle I am right now. I mean, I'm always want to grow. If you impact my self-worth, how I think about myself or my growth, either you help me grow or you gotta go. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and it
and
it is self-worth, and other people might put a different word to it.
yeah,
I'm not enough, right? I'm
yes,
not
yes.
valuable. I'm not
Mm-hmm.
lovable. I'm not worthy, like you said. There's a lot of different words, and it all comes down to the same thing of believing that you are valuable, you are worthy, you are enough, you are lovable, you are exactly as you are supposed to be. But who is
Exactly.
that? And that's part of that journey too, is a lot of people allow people to shake that foundation because they question what they say because they're not sure. Who
Mm-hmm.
is Megan? Who
Yeah.
is Danielle? When I show up, who is showing up? Like what can I be confident in? Like who is that inner woman? And that's
Mm-hmm.
part of that work too, is really discovering who you are, what you stand for, what's important to you and accepting that as your truth. It's
Yeah.
okay because you're
Yeah,
different than me.
exactly. And then we can all have, of course, like I always say, like but I always say too, with like the truth, like or like perspective, like perception's reality. I get that, but it's like there's always with one story, the other story, the truth somewhere in between. But with the beautiful thing about having your own inner truth is that you define that.
Yes.
So yes, like we get along because we have like, and I always say it comes back to I will, and this is some exercise I do with my clients. I'm like, by the end of our journey together, if like I know this is a weird thing, but if somebody went up to me in the street, it hasn't happened to me yet, and I'm dying, I maybe it has to happen. I wish it would. If they're like, Danielle, what are your core values? I can list them bang, 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 bang.
Boom. Yep.
And that's when I know you're at the, I'm like, all right, we're kind of
You're
like, not like we're done here, but like, as you said, you want to give them the tools. And when you can do that and stand in your own power and say, these are my core values and I'm going to live by them and align to them.
Yes. And then
That's
that's your filter, right? That's your filter for every yes, for every
yes.
no, for every
You,
relationship,
you
for
bring
every
it back.
boundary. Yes. And that's where your power truly lies, is being able to say, no, this is
It's
me. And
against my
I
values or yeah.
yes, exactly. And that's where you bring back your power, because we give it away like we're Oprah. You get some of my power. You get some, right? We do it all the time. No,
Yeah.
bring it back. It's your power. Everybody has their own. Nobody else needs your power. You can keep
Yeah.
your own. They have their own, right?
Well, I always say too, like over the summer, I remember my friend has like teenage kids, and then she was like, one of the girls was like, I love her. She's just like a little spunky, and she's like, why would I want to be like them? Like I'm me, and I was like, oh my God, like I love that. I was like,
Yes.
yeah, like everybody else is taken. Like be your. She's like, why would I want to be like them?
Yes.
And I was like, do you know how many years, how much therapy I went
Hold
through
on
to
to that, girl. Hold
I
on
know.
to
I was like,
that.
that I went through to get to where you are and you're like 14. I'm like,
Yes. One of my favorite phrases that's just a really good example, I think, of how feeling really is how you experience life, your emotions,
yeah.
is when people say, good for them. Because there's
Mm.
one way of saying, like, oh, well, good for them.
Mm.
In which case, who knows what's under that, right? Like, are you jealous? Are you not agreeing? Are you being judgmental? Are you being envious? Are you like, what is it that's behind that? Or the really honest, true response of like, good for them.
Yeah, like good. Yeah,
I'm
like good. Yeah, like
I'm happy for them.
I'm happy to see.
Good
Yeah.
for them. And maybe inside you're like, that's not my that wouldn't
That's
be
not my cup of tea, but
and
that's
good for
cool.
them that it's theirs and that they
Yeah.
went for it, that they did it, that they made that decision. Like, good for them. But the way you say that phrase says a
Oh,
lot about your
who you
inner
are.
strength, your power, who you are, what you're struggling with, what your roadblocks are. That alone says so, so, so much. 100%.
And I think too, I just come from the camp of piggybacking off of what you said. When you are happy with yourself and you've been not even happy, when you're at a point of peace with yourself, like truly, like the relationship with yourself is strong, you want to be seen, you have worth, like everything is good for everybody because you're like, I'm good with me.
Yes.
Like, and it's like, but as you said, if maybe there's a little slight, like, oh, like, good for them, like maybe some facetiousness or somewhat a little attitude or judgment, as you said, like, that's an area where, like, I mean, I'm always looking for areas to work on, but
Hmm.
like, that's an area that like you need to heal because they say your triggers. And that I also think that like this is another this is another area of mental health. I want to focus more on the positive because we're always like triggers, triggers, triggers. But I'm like, they are, yes, they're triggers, but they're signals to what you need to heal. They
Yes.
it's your body telling you, here's just something, it's tapping into a wound right now and you need to heal it. And instead, and I think sometimes there's a negative connotation with triggers. I'm not saying I'm welcoming triggers into my life, but if I am in the case that I am triggered, I don't think of it as like, oh my God, I'm triggered. I think of it as like I stay curious about it. And
I love that.
I'm like, why did that impact me so much? Like I'm
Hmm.
like that, like it could be something so little, but then as we talked about, it goes back to my morals and values. Like,
Hmm.
and I'm a person who something happened recently in my community where there's a construction, I live in an HOA that you can only go up like certain amount levels and every height there's a big height restriction, and there's a building that is like going against our bylaws and against the zoning, and it's just a mess basically, let's just say that. But I am, and there's just rumors going around, and like that's not how I operate. Like, sorry, I'm just gonna say it. I'm from New Jersey, I curse a lot. Like, the bullshit stops with me. And like, I had to get on the phone with like the president of our HOA, and I was like, this, like, what, we need to fix this. Like,
Mhm.
I don't know what to do, but because I like, but going back to like impact, I'm like, and honestly, I don't really think I made much of an impact on this person, but like for me, it made me, going back to feeling, it just made me feel in my truth. And I was like, if I don't say anything, like that's just how, if I like, I go by what's right. Like, I'm not saying like I haven't, like, I'm gonna be honest with you, I drank when I was underage. I'm not like this big like rule fault, like, like
How dare you?
like I,
How
I
dare
drank
you?
in college, you know what I mean? But like, but that was important to me because I saw the impact this, because I live in a very community-based play home, that a neighborhood. I saw the impact it was having on my friends and people I love, and it was having a very negative impact on their mental health. And that's when I was like, nope, like we have, like Danielle has to say something. So
Yeah. Well, and that's I mean, that's a good example because really part of the work that we all can do on a constant basis is really staying focused on what is within our
our
control, right? There's
control,
like
yep.
three different worlds. The natural world, we have no control. Everybody else's world, we have no
Which is
control.
like infinite.
Yeah, and then our world,
Every
and that's the only thing we have control over, and so in that situation, you have control over saying something, expressing your opinion,
yeah.
hopefully doing that in a way that was well received by
Oh
whoever
yeah,
the
yeah, it was
audience was, right?
professional. Yeah, it
Controlling
wasn't
the
like
way
I
you
like
gave it.
went in like
Yeah,
crazy or anything.
and then that's it. And so now you have control over how you feel about it. You have control over the impact you allow it to have on
Mm,
your life because you did the thing in your control. And
yeah.
so now you got to control you. And that's something we all need to work on a constant basis is really being reminded of using our power where we actually have power, which is on
Yeah, no,
us.
I actually have a tattoo, and I have got a tattoo of it because it reminds me, and it's talking about your power and what you have control over, is that it says, your perception of me is a reflection of you. My reaction to you is an awareness of me. And it's like,
Yes,
that's my reminder, like whatever goes on externally in my world, like other opinions, thoughts, other people's emotions, that's
that's on
on that,
you.
like
Yep.
that's on you.
Yep.
But how I react to it, all right, that's on me. Like
That's
that's the
on you.
power that I hold.
Yes. That's within your control.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, but Megan,
I
this
love
has
that.
been such a lovely, lovely conversation. I could literally, every podcast guest I have, I'm like, literally, I could talk to you like the whole day, I feel.
We could talk
Like,
all day.
I could just like talk to you the whole day. I mean, I'm like, who has the time? You know what I mean? And we have both have lives, but I could talk to you all day. But where can, I know you're on Instagram, Megan Bunnell, and then meganbunnell.com is your website, correct? But where can people
Yes.
find you?
So meganbunnellcoaching.com is the
Coaching, I'm sorry,
website.
excuse me.
Yes. So yeah, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, on my website. And they're welcome to reach out, DM me. I'm the one that responds. So they're welcome
Yes, you're
to,
you don't have an
write me a
AI chat
message.
bot or virtual
No,
assistant yet.
no. And if any of this resonated with anyone and you're not even sure where to start, I think I already gave you the link, but I can give it to you if I didn't. I
Yeah, I'll
have
put
an
it in the show notes.
assessment that is called the Unstoppable You Assessment. And it's really a very good first step because it figures out where your leaks are, your drains are, your
Mm,
roadblocks are, and it gives you the results right then. And so
yeah.
you'll see what your roadblocks are, gives you some steps that you can take to start working on those. And so that's a good place to start, and it helps you with that awareness, which is that very first step.
Yep.
So if you're not sure, take that totally free, get your results right away, and it'll give you some guidance to move forward in the right path based on what you're struggling with.
Yeah, I mean, I always say too, like, I think there's this reel that I have saved in my phone. What's that? I forgot the actress's name. She was on the Drew Barrymore show, but like the work that you do with your clients and likewise with me is like we're trying to find that due north. And if your compass is not, it's not how far you go, it's where the direction in which you're going. So if your
Yes.
compass is not point due north, you're gonna go in the wrong direction. You could go very far,
Yes.
but in the
But
wrong direction.
yes, yes,
So yeah,
absolutely.
I love that assessment. So yeah, head to Megan's website or, engage with her on social media. As always, this podcast episode is available on the Feeling and Healing YouTube channel as well as Apple, not iTunes, excuse me, Apple Podcasts and Spotify.